Welcome, everyone. This is All Minus One, and I am Bill. I don't really expect to have an audience today, but I'm going to make this video anyways because things have been inconsistent because I've been working crazy hours trying to build some wealth, which is almost futile these days, right? Because as soon as you build it, inflation steals it, and there has been a lot going on in the news with that. Oh, hey, there we go. We got anti-commie in. Um, so with that, I was going to jump to this article at Bloomberg. I have to be quick today, guys, because I absolutely must go to or start leaving for work at 3 p.m. But Bloomberg, inflation stings most of you if you earn less than $30,000. Here's how to deal with it. Take a bus. Don't buy in bulk. Try lentils instead of meat. Nobody said it would be fun. Um, and after seeing this and finding it hilarious, I went to then go to Bloomberg and just look at their stuff in general because their Twitter is just nuts, the stuff that's on here. So I thought about, I was talking about all the Bloomberg articles and kind of breaking them down. And I was like, I don't know about all that. But the bottom line is the reality is that Michael Bloomberg is a globalist. He is part of the system. And I titled this, uh, Novus Ordo Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? The new order of the ages, or the new secular order. Um, our enterprise, Annuus Coeptus, right? The idea of the United States and the reverse seal was all created by globalists. And this is their enterprise, is the enterprise of globalism and basically ensuring that you're going to be quite poor. What's really laughable about this other tweet is if you earn less than $300,000 a year, well, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but as far as American income goes in the United States, right, the top 1% are those people who are earning $300,000 a year. That means 99% of everyone else needs to take a bus, don't buy in bulk, try lentils instead of meat. Nobody said it would be fun. That's what's going on there. Oh, you know what? I just realized. That I don't have my Ethernet cable plugged in. It's sitting right here. Let me do that real quick. Maybe this is why I couldn't stream to Rumble. I was trying to stream to Rumble, guys. For some reason, it says live recording in progress. I see that, but then when I went to the live stream, I couldn't see it. So you guys can go check over there for me if you would. If you don't like YouTube, please go to my Rumble channel. Links are in the YouTube description. Go subscribe. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I'm live streaming there, but I tried to set it up. But I do know this. They will put up my video that I stream here on YouTube. So that's good. But yeah, let's talk about some of these things real quick. Maybe, you know, maybe you guys saw this or heard about this thing going around. Of course, this is from InfoWars. Video thread, most sinister globalist you've never heard of. Now, this gentleman is like Klaus Schwab's right-hand man, apparently. Klaus Schwab advisor says humans are hackable animals and free will is dangerous. The world's ruling elite are ideologically anti-human. This is the new world order they wish to set in. And, again, some of you may not believe this. I don't really care if you believe it or not. It's true. They get together. They make their little plans. I'm sure they bicker about who's going to run things and who's going to be in charge and who actually has the power. But they do these things and they absolutely can control you. I have Edward Bernays' propaganda behind my shoulder back there. He was talking about this stuff in the 20s and 30s. They know how to program you. The other day, I got some beard balm I hadn't gotten in a while. I like Mountaineered Beard Company. When I first started growing out my beard after I left the sheriff's department, it was like down to here, a very, very big beard at first. Uh, but in any case, I I needed product because you want your beard to not be completely unkempt, and you want the hair to be healthy and all that stuff, right? So I found this brand, all natural products, really like it, and it's local. It's a West Virginia company, and it's really close to me. Actually, I guess their plant or factory or whatever they have down here. Um, but I didn't know that part till recently. In any case, they had a hair stimulating system, a beard stimulating system. A lot of people market these. I don't really know if they work. I've heard they might. I don't know. But the idea is that you're like doing micro abrasions that help release and stimulate follicle growth. And so if you have patchy areas that you can get rid of those. So and I got some patchy areas. I don't really care about it. It's not that big a deal to me. But the shorter the length of my beard is, the more you can see them. And so, sometimes, like when I used to have to be clean shaven, I would generally rock 5 o'clock shadow like 90% of the time because I didn't like shaving because when I shave, I break out a lot because it irritates my face, right? And there's also what is it, sebum? I forget. I think that's what it is, something like that. But the oil that is released from your hairs, well, if your beard isn't growing out and that oil isn't there, those little glands, those oil glands that are supposed to nourish your hairs, they can get clogged up, and so I would get acne and stuff. It's not fun, and it would be painful. Anyways, with all that said, you know they that is the big tech companies and everything decided to advertise for me today. I'm on Instagram mining memes, and they're advertising that I get this beard stimulation stuff. It's another company that's advertising, but they're advertising to me. They know what you are doing all of the time because you volunteer to have this device with you all of the time. This little tracking device, this thing that makes us cyborgs, and people don't think of it that way, but that's what it is. It is a cybernetic device. It's attached to you. It's a wonderful thing. I'm not a Luddite. I love technology. At the same time, I understand how it makes us weak. And that, my friends, is something that people need to come to terms with. Not only does it make us weak, it makes us vulnerable, and not just vulnerable to our own excesses and our own evils, but vulnerable to the people who wish to control you. So here we have historian and author Yuval Harari, a top advisor to Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum, is being called out online as one of the key players in the globalist reset agenda. When it comes to high-tech surveillance and the integration of human body with computers and AI and other futuristic technology, Harari isn't shy about where he thinks we're headed. Readers don't need to take our word for it, as Harari often openly states his nightmares vision. So hopefully, I'm going to hit play. Hopefully, you guys will be able to hear this just fine. Anti-commie, let me know. There's a volume problem, bud.
InfoWars is the most important news organization in the world when it comes to exposing the globalists and their Great Reset. And we can't stay on air if you don't financially support us. We've got great products at InfoWarsStore.com. Follow the link below and make your life healthy. Now, in the past, many tyrants and governments wanted to do it, but nobody understood biology well enough. And nobody had enough computing power and data to hack millions of people. Neither the Gestapo nor the KGB could do it. But soon, at least some corporations and governments will be able to systematically hack all the people. We humans should get used to the idea that we are not mysterious souls. We are now hackable animals. How can we get a global agreement on AI when you have a new Cold War, a new hot war. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste because a crisis is an opportunity.
All right, so I'm not going to play this whole thing. You guys can find this. It's Emperor Wars. What I do want to show you a little bit more specifically is this. Now, this is this guy's website, and what I want you to focus on is that quote at the top. History began when humans invented gods and will end when humans become gods. This is the through line all the way throughout history of their plan, that thing of being on the right side of history, is to make human beings gods. This is the transhumanism. So the World Economic Forum wants to link everyone up in the metaverse through their brains. They want to take this device and they want to put a little chip in your head and have everyone linked and the money connected to it. This is their basic plan to control everybody, and they've been talking about it forever. But understand the precepts behind this, the spirit behind this. It's hubris, and it is the belief that men themselves are gods. It is the first lie, right, from the garden. Oh, you will be like gods. Your eyes will be open, knowing the difference between good and evil. And of course, the second was, oh, you surely won't die. So I'm sure many of you are aware of, this book, Limits to Growth. This was written in the 70s by the Club of Rome, although it's often attributed to MIT. MIT worked with the Club of Rome, but the Club of Rome are the people that basically presented this book. And it implicates the whole of human race as being kind of like a virus, and that if we have too many people on the earth, that there'll be mass suffering and starvation and all these other type of things, right? And this was a really popular idea in the 70s. So was global cooling and peak oil, mind you. The Population Bomb is another book that I just pulled up the wiki on. It came out around the same time. Paul Ehrlich, a very important name in these discussions, and their beliefs in the population growing to a point that it's not sustainable. Now, none of this is a reality. None of this is true. And yeah, Malthus was wrong. That's right, Antigami. Because when we have more people, develop new ways to, get the resources we need. We become more efficient at it. These folks, though, are stuck in a death cult. They believe in Malthus and basically think that everything is a slice of a pie. They don't consider how wealth is actually made or created. Or if they do, because a lot of these people are well educated, they don't portray their ideas that way so that they can emotionally manipulate you guys. Excuse me. Let me clear my throat. It's got a little frog in my throat. There we go. Much better. So again, this is what these people were predicting in the 70s. Understand, as Antikami said, Malthus was wrong. Malthus was predicting this in the 1800s. This is a very kind of old concept that the globalists have attached to and continue to fearmonger about. I literally had a buddy over the other week who said something about there were too many people on the earth already. And of course, I looked at him and I said, well, you first. And he was just kind of like, he was like, well, I mean, people keep having all these kids. And I'm like, no, dude, you don't know the data. And this is a smart guy. He's actually a researcher, but he's propagandized. He completely propagandized. And I think in a lot of ways demoralized. But we don't tend to get too deep in these conversations generally. So I just want you to be aware of, those forecasts, those ideas. All of a sudden, this past, I don't know, couple of weeks, months, these stories popped up. So the National Post put this up on December 10th, 2021. So this has been out for a little bit. But world population forecast to decline for the first time in a century. The last time that global population decline was in the mid 14th century due to the Black Plague. Yada, yada, yada. We know why this is going to happen, why this takes effect. We know about all this. Right here from the New York Times. Of course, I had to archive it to get through the paywall. But long slide looms for world populations with sweeping ramifications, fewer baby cries, more abandoned homes. Toward the middle of this century, as deaths start to exceed births, changes will come that are hard to fathom. And that was put out last year. Here in 2020, overpopulation myth. New study predicts population decline this century. Well, why is all this? The UN Sustainable Development Goals are met, the population could even be smaller than 6.3 billion. Notice that, though. The UN... Oh, hold on. I didn't share this. My bad. That's what I get for using two screens. Notice here it says that the UN Sustainable Development Goals are met. Well, what is that? What is the UN's Sustainable Development Goals? Well, I could tell you. It's to depopulate the rural areas and make urban living simplified. It's really just basically going to be a bunch of ghettos and slums like you see in a lot of areas, like, say, I don't know, Johannesburg, South Africa. You got the rich people on the interior and the poor people who live under socialism, while the rich people live in capitalism, in the slums or the favelas. In Brazil, there's certain places you can't go, and they're completely overrun by criminals. Yeah. I think about this idea of, like, say, never read the book or anything like that, but I went to take my daughter to the movie Ready Player One, in this world where people are just escaping into the metaverse, right? Which is what we're doing now when we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and everything else, which is why I don't use these things a lot. I have them. I do use them for reasons, but they're tools to me. They're not something that are occupying my time always. They're not the novelty that they once were. So, yeah, like that, in order to escape the slums and the horde life that you live in the poorness, people will get addicted to these um, social media platforms and the metaverse and whatever else. This is what's coming. They will be completely lulled to sleep and propagandized. And again, wait, if everyone's hooked up, connected, you'll have a hive mind. Um, Again, not to give away too much detail because it won't, but these are things that are elements in the book I'm trying to get together. Baby girl has not given me a lot of time to do that, and now that I'm working, but I have the thing there, and I have the ideas, I have the main stuff written down. It's just really just me getting to work and sitting down and writing, which I'm sure she gets a little older, I'll have more time to do. I hope. And here from the World Economic Forum, are we preparing for world population growth? The experts are divided. It's kind of a different message here. It's about the nearly 11 billion people on Earth by the end of the century, the UN says. That's not what they say, actually. That's a misnomer. In fact, we just saw that they just said they might hit their sustainability goals, right? But again, how are they going to do that? How are they going to influence that? Well, I'll show you a few more articles, and I got to get out of here. I already covered that one. Here's CNN from the other year talking about the same thing. But this is old news, guys. Very, very old news. I'm going to read this real quick. It says, Hans Rosling, important truths about population growth in the developing world. So It's just a little blog. Now, I've mentioned Hans plenty of times before because I've been aware of his work for I don't know, a decade or more now. Now he's passed away. I think he passed away in 2019 or something like that. Might have been even 2018, but he passed away of cancer. But he was a UN researcher, and he said, "No, we're not going to be overpopulated. You can find his stuff all over the internet." Yet, why is there this belief, right? Why are they trying to get people to believe stuff like that? Why are they running articles in Bloomberg that are basically in line with the World Economic Forum's? Oh, yeah, try lentils instead of meat. Nobody said this would be fun. I mean, the cringe on here is just ridiculous. Like, if you go to Bloomberg Opinions Twitter, and every story is just insane. The headline and the story. Nearly everyone. So, Rosling, Important Truths About Population Growth in the Developing World. It said, Garrett Hardin's Living with Limits had a huge influence on how I thought about population. In the book, he convincingly demonstrates the folly of allowing human populations to grow unchecked over a long enough time frame. Why? Why would it not be checked by natural disaster or famine or, just what happens if you would be overpopulated and you can't sustain your society? I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see people dying in the streets. I don't want to see people suffer. But for some reason, it's okay if the globalists slowly manipulate and control it. For some reason, that's okay. Even a small rate of compound, that's not worded well, but I think that what they mean is even at a small rate, it would compound and add up to large figures. Hart's arguments can be summed up fairly simply. An exponentially expanding population in a world with defined limits creates a problem. The limits are defined by our technology and our knowledge of things, not by just the resources alone. If resources alone were the limiting factor, we would not have all of the modern conveniences that we have today, because many of them come from the byproducts of petroleum. And the reason why that is because, well, back in the day, Standard Oil, uh, you know, they wanted to make a buck, and all the waste that they had, they wanted to figure out how they could use as industrial products. And so we have all these plastics and all this other stuff, all these chemicals. I mean, shutting off fossil fuel production, folks, will destroy so many industries and lives. People by the millions will starve and suffer and die. I'm promising you, this is how it will work because it's all interconnected. How do we even get our food? You just get an electric car. You just buy a Tesla, right? And everyone keeps talking about this as the let them eat cake moment, right? Because that's where we're at. That's what we're looking at. Again, these globalists. Hardin was clear to acknowledge that he wasn't sure where the limits actually were. As supporters of Thomas Malthus, oh, imagine that, have found out over the years, agriculture and other technology can and has outpaced population growth. And the reason why people starve to death isn't because we don't have enough food. It's because it's not allocated well. It's because we have people who are like warlords and stuff who hoard it. We have people who aren't warlords who manipulate markets all the time and, try to run your life. I call them globalists, or elites, as they like to think of themselves. But it was a certainty that some limits cannot be overcome as long as we're a single planet species. No, it's not. That's a logical fallacy. You cannot assume, A is going to happen because of B. There are so many other factors that you must put into this. And I don't find Malthus particularly intelligent or insightful, honestly. A lot of these people who are esteemed as the greatest geniuses ever are morons, including especially Karl Marx. But I digress. Things like natural beauty, energy consumption, water consumption, fertilizer, living space, and other things mostly have limits. Water is this one drives me nuts. This is basic like third grade earth science nonsense. Like you know that the funnest class, maybe you guys didn't have earth science in school, but like the funnest science class because it's just a bunch of silly nonsense like the water cycle and all that kind of stuff. Oh, we're going to talk about plate tectonics and erosion. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, the reality is, guys, is we live in a closed system. It can have some exposure from the outside. It's not completely closed, but for the most part, it is self-sustaining. It is self-filtering. It goes through a proper cycle. And the argument on their end would be, well, we're adding too much environmental toxins for it to clean itself. I don't think so. But I'm not against having a clean environment either, and I don't think anyone is. It's, the whole thing where millions of people are gonna starve to death because we get off fossil fuels that I have the issue with. Hardin also gives us, terminology of, long age as opposed to shortage. Our terminology refers to population without enough to eat and having a shortage of food. And then he comes down here to Hans Rosling. Most of this was all I knew on the topic. Enter Hans Rosling to continue that education. He's a Swedish academic and scientist who came to the popular fame as a TED speaker. Among his talks are discussions on poverty, HIV, and developing world. A few minutes tells you that man has a way with statistics and data presentation. Yeah, and there's a video of his. It's something like, you know, um, like 15 minutes will make you a lot smarter, and he debunks all this stuff. And what's going on is people are getting richer, and because of the programming and the propaganda, and because of the ability to spend money, people are becoming selfish, and they're not having children, or they're having way less children. And this is why we're having a low population rate in the West. We can't sustain ourselves. This is all about, in the end, it's again not emergent, but programmed. This is all the programming that is coming through. And this is why I brought up old Uvail here. It's the programming, right? So this is pretty interesting because this is liveandinnovation.org, and this is considered hate speech by Facebook. Because see, I use Facebook Messenger to get articles to myself so I can use them on different devices, right? It's a pretty simple thing. I've been doing it for 10 years. Apparently I'm not the only one because I hear Tim Pool talk about it all the time too. I mean, it's a simple way for me, instead of having to bookmark everything or whatever, I just send a message and then I can go find it. I do it with memes too. Well, wasn't allowed to put a Facebook post up about it, try to slide the URL in. It gave me more information. Absolutely absurd. It's just talking about Hans Rosling's data. So the whole point of all this, guys, is that we aren't overpopulating. In fact, I challenge you to go drive around the world. People will be like, "Oh, thank God for the national parks, because if we didn't have them, then this and that, we wouldn't have any land." It's like, no. Mind you, I don't think that people should be frivolously destroying land either. But no, that's not really probably the case. Which is somewhat of an issue here in West Virginia. But you can find a lot of lands around them, and they let land open up. So, in any case, I don't want the entire world to be stripped, right? But I don't think that when I go for a drive and I see nothing but vast amounts of countryside, and mind you, when I see houses, people build around roads, right? Roads are near where people live. There are all kinds of places in the US, in Canada, in South America, in Central America that are completely void of folks for miles. I am looking. I don't know how I'm going to get the money, but I'm going to do it. I will figure it out. I'm looking at properties that are thousands of acres here in West Virginia. Don't tell me that we're overpopulated. We're over densified. People living in cities. And you know what the problem is with that? Is that they don't know each other. They become overly secular. They don't have any control over their government. They basically put themselves in their own prison, in their own zoo. And that's what a city is. So I just kind of brought this up with it. I saw that Bloomberg thing today, and then I was thinking about, I started going through Bloomberg stuff, and I was like, I think I'm going to stream today. I told my wife. Um, and then I had this other stuff lined up, and I was like, well, this kind of works together, kind of ties in, because Bloomberg is the messenger, right? They're the propagandists. They're the ones telling you how you're going to live. And it's not just Bloomberg, of course. It's not just Bloomberg. It's all the mainstream legacy outlets. And most of them are run by BlackRock or owned partially by BlackRock or other big investors. You know, I was talking to my boss the other week, and we were just talking about random things, and he was saying about um, you know, where he used to be. He used to believe different things. He was into the occult and whatever before he became a Christian and all this other stuff. And he said until we did research, he didn't realize how far certain things were. Um, and I told him, he didn't realize the way he thought or was thinking was just an abundant amount of indoctrination, right? And I told him, I said, "Oh yeah," I said, I all the time I realize how this, how I used to think, and how I see one, how evil it is, and two, how programmed it is, because my natural instincts and my proclivity, my curiosity, my proclivity to be a very curious person and understand things, that is is to is to say, oh, is that a real thing or whatever? But no, I just accepted it wholeheartedly. I didn't say that very well, but basically what I was trying to say is hey, you know, I'm kind of skeptical. I'm curious. I want to figure out how things work, but I just accepted things, in hand that was given to me. We assume that these things are what they are. And one of the worst things for me personally was just dealing with women, right? Programmed and taught a certain way. And I see it all the time because I deprogram myself. I had a horrible first marriage, relationship, very traumatic, still suffer, like no joke, still suffer wounds from that, right? Um, and then I went and had a serious girlfriend that was terrible. And so I decided I'm just going to date. And I became a man whore for a while, and that wasn't satisfying. But one of the things that I did in that process was I learned how to deal with women. And it it'll blow your mind if you learn. You figure it out, because everything you're taught, everything women tell you too, especially, is wrong. If you find an honest woman, you tell her certain things, she'll admit to it. But the bigger point is that we have abandoned common sense, our traditions, and our basic knowledge and understanding of fundamental things, like the differences between men and women. Why are we doing all of this? Well, I'd say, that book behind me, Nihilism, explains part of it. There's a wealth of knowledge out there that explains a part of it. But in the end, the reality is these people are evil. These people are Luciferian. Whether they believe in the idea of Lucifer, the light bringer, the good God in the Garden of Eden that gave man knowledge so he could be like gods and ascend to godhood one day himself. That's what this is about, right? And again, I will bring you and your attention to this quote up here in this banner that's flashing. History began when humans invented God. Okay. Why did humans? This is an inversion too. God invented man, not the other way around. But, whatever. And will end when humans become gods. This is the story of the Tower of Babel, folks. And when you look at Revelation, and you don't look at it, if you don't look at it from a historicist perspective, by the way, I think you're just looking at it wrong. You have to understand that the modern interpretations of Revelation came from the Reformation. The people weren't completely wrong, I think, during the Reformation, but they weren't completely right either. They hadn't figured everything out. Um, but they were seeing the Pope as the Antichrist because he sat in the church, right? And he was in the hearts of men instead of Christ, right? Christ says some very important things in Matthew 23, yelling at the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He says, call no man your teacher, but Christ, and no man your father, but God in heaven. These things are important because even today, the modern church ignores those teachings. And they go, oh, well, he didn't really mean that. He didn't mean it that way. No, there are going to be a lot of divisions in the church. Christ pointed that out immediately. He said, a house divided cannot stand. He talked about that, but he also, the apostles came to him. He sent them out, the disciples at the time, sent them out to go teach and preach on their own. And they came back and they said, Lord, when we were out there, we saw others that weren't of our group teaching the same message. Jesus said, so then let them do it. And yet we have Christians arguing over, well, you belong to this denomination or that denomination. And I don't know what to tell you. I follow Christ to the best of my ability, and my ability at following him sucks. Don't get me wrong. I'm far from perfectly pious in any way, shape, or form. But there are principles that I live by. Very important. I try to act and treat people in a way that I believe that God respects. I know I can never be fully or truly righteous, but I know that God can account it to me because I try to be a man of principle. And I think that's more important than what denomination do you go to or this and that, right? It's one church under God. But the greater point to this, I'm starting off with is people are starting to say, some people, actually, this is an old idea, but Bill Cooper used to say this, William Cooper, from the Mystery Babylon series, right? He used to talk about how he believed that the globalists were following the Bible as a playbook. I watched James Lindsay the other week after the last stream I did, I think. Maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But I did a little stream about James Lindsay and CRT, and I'm going to do more. I just haven't had time to get things clipped out. But he was on Temple and he was saying, oh, I think these people read it as the plan because Tim's like, I didn't realize that stuff was in the Bible, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, it's in the Bible. And whether these people read that and said, oh, that's a great idea or not, doesn't matter. If the prophecy fulfilled itself because people saw it, it's still fulfilled. It doesn't matter how that happened. What matters is that it's happening. My belief is the book of Revelation in chapter 13 specifically talks about a beast that comes out of the sea. That beast that came out of the beast that comes out of the earth. All the other beasts came from the sea where the people were. The earth is a juxtaposition to the sea. It's where there weren't people. There's only one place that there weren't people, and that was in the New World. And guess what? Guess what we have? We have our enterprise as the new secular order of the world on our seal in the United States. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Have we not been the world leaders, the global power, an empire? If we wanted to, we could drill and do all kinds of stuff to have oil right now, but we don't want to. We can actually do real stuff, maybe to help Ukraine. Not that I really care. I think it's a border dispute between Russia and Ukraine, and I think the Russians actually have plenty of legitimate reasons when they're concerned about NATO invading their territory. But again, the whole thing's a false dichotomy. This is about raising the oil prices and switching over to the yuan or however you say it, and the yuan will be the global currency, and America's not going to allow that to happen. Lose all of its power. Europe, whatever else, people are going to go where the oil goes. But there's a reason why America was chosen, folks. This is old occultic stuff. This goes way back to Francis Bacon's New Atlantis. This goes way back further than that. George W. Bush said, a new order of the ages and 1,000 points of light. Do you understand what that language is? That is a cult language about a vision of being on the right side of history. By the way, if you didn't know, there is claims, I don't know, I don't have any proof, but that Marx was an occultist himself and part of all this stuff, right? And being on the right side of history is bringing man into the transhuman future and becoming gods. Ignatius says, Google, how does one become more pious? I mean, I'll tell you my problem, Ignatius. I need to be in church and under a spiritual leader. That's really my problem. Um, and you know, that's hard for numerous reasons. But one is finding the right kind of church, which right now the only places that I know there are there's, I shouldn't say the only places, but one of the places that I know is teaching the truth is for the most part is the Orthodox Church. But I don't sleep well, and I don't know about getting up really early in the morning to drive an hour to go to a Russian Orthodox church. Um, can maybe go to a Greek Orthodox, but I hear there's issues. There's a what is it? There's one not too far from me, about 35 minutes up north in PA. That's not Russian or Greek. I forget what it is. In any case, I think it's under Constantinople. That's what it is. And so I might end up going there at some point, but it's hard. It's hard for me to, to do that. I don't sleep regular hours. I've always been like this, and I've always done jobs where, I'm working odd off hours. I don't have a super set schedule. But that's really my problem. That's what I need. And at least I'm self-aware of it, right? In any case, you know, this this really should be telling though to everybody when a major news outlet, whether they get slammed for it or not, basically tells everyone who's not in the 1% that they're going to be peasants, that you're going to have to start living like a peasant. Should be quite telling of what's going on. And frankly, folks, I'm pretty concerned right now. I'm a little bit. Sorry about that. I was saying I'm a little bit more concerned than I normally am. I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that, though. I end up watching like Good Logic or other people. Not Ricada. I don't think Ricada does it. Viva does it all the time. Kicks himself out of the stream. I think he does. I don't know. A couple of them guys I see do that. It's what happens when you're not tech people. In any case, I'm predicting, and I'll hopefully I really want to be wrong about this. I'm predicting $8 gas though, and in July. Now, $8 a gallon probably won't be everywhere, but in the cities, big cities, California, New York, stuff like that. Um, for certain, it's going to hit $5 soon enough, or $6 for a lot of people. I'm predicting that with this continued slump, everything, the inflation is going to continue, right? Has to, because everything has to get more expensive as gas gets more expensive, products get more expensive. There's going to be unemployment. There's going to be food shortages. There's going to be a lot of bad things. And I hope I'm wrong about all of this. I was joking about batting 1,000 the other day on the Ends Justify the Memes, but I really have been, more or less. There have been a few soft predictions. This is kind of like a soft prediction, but I think I have said it though a couple times. I have marked my words. It'll be $8 if we keep going on this track. Mind you, that could change. If someone tries to do something to change it, it could change. But think about that. Think about the economic effects that are going to trickle down to all those that 99% who's not making, $300,000 a year. And full disclosure, I'm not making anything like that, but my wife and I together right now, we're making six figures. We're making good money. Um, that just puts us like, middle class. It gets us out of lower middle class into middle class. And I don't know what to do because I want to save money. I have debts to pay off, which we're taking care of, but I want to save money and inflation's going through the roof. So what do? Well, I need to buy commodities to hedge against inflation. I have some idea, though, how this stuff works. Most folks are clueless. What do you think is going to happen? Spook says middle class. Yeah. Yeah. Um, my work, those variables. So like I know what I'm making, and I know, um, you know, I know what I will be making for the year. Basically, I could be making up to, another 10, 20 grand more, depending. Um, it really does depend. But again, it's great. It's going to help us out. I want to get a bunch of land. I want to help other people out. I was talking to her about the plans today. I was talking to Josh Ham earlier this week about it. You know, these things will happen, but it will take time. In the meantime, the globalists, they're trying to strangle every single person and convince you this is just how you have to do things from now on. How many times in the past week have you heard a politician say, well, these tough times with Ukraine, everyone's just going to have to, they're just going to have to hunker down right now. Like it's the war effort in World War II. Something like 30%, it might be more than that. I might be misquoting a number, but I think it's something like 30% of the world's grain comes from Ukraine. It's causing prices to inflate right now. Prices in Africa and elsewhere. This is the problem with this globalism, folks. It's too interconnected. One system goes down way over there, and a chain reaction goes off, destroying every economy involved with it. We need to be self-sustaining. And I don't expect our leaders to do that. They're not leaders. They're just a bunch of tyrants who care about lining their pockets and getting their new world order. On the other hand, you and I, we can go find a place. We can go get some land. We can go and start preparing. And I hope you are. This is the beginning. Remember, this is the beginning. This is 2022. The Great Reset wasn't just some meeting. It was a long plan. Modeled, mind you, the name's modeled off of the French revolutionaries. Great Reset. We're going to have a great reset. Aside from that, they are implementing this over the course of 10 years. And this aligns with the UN Agenda 2030. And the interesting thing is that, as I've mentioned many times before, the Chinese have these similar kind of plans. And they want to be the world economic power by 2050 in their 100-year plan. Most likely, they will be that by 2030. But if that happens, I do believe you're going to see a political clash over who gets to rule the money supply. Will it be America or will it be China? So, just some things to think about. I got to roll, guys. I got to get to work. Love y'all. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be streaming irregularly over here. I just have to. I'm too concerned about getting other things done. I have to do this. I'm compelled to do this. I really am. Like, uh, part of this getting the information together, whether it's quick like I did today or whatever, it's something I have to talk about, whether you guys are out there listening or not. Unfortunately, you guys are, but my channel is tiny too. So I need you to shout me out. I need you to help grow. I need to say, hey, maybe listen to this guy. I don't ever expect to be, some famous YouTuber. That's not what this is about. Uh, this is me venting. This is part of my artistic nature, my creativity. Um, but more importantly, it's me being a watchman and saying, hey, pay attention, wake up, realize what is actually going on in front of your face. And again, maybe I'm a crazy person, but I think that everyone who doesn't listen and heed what I'm saying is far more crazy because I have the documents, man. I've read them. I found out all this stuff back 15 or more years ago when I was in my early 20s or mid 20s, you know, and I kind of compartmentalize it, put it in the back of my head and watch and see here and there and whatever. It's still the same. It's still the same. Um, it is real. This is what they do. They do get together. They do have plans and they do want to control you. Just listen to what they say when they tell you what they want. It's not hard. If you listen to them, you'll hear what they say and you'll acknowledge that, oh, yeah, they do want to control us. They do want to enslave us. They do want to depopulate the earth because I don't think that they're actually Malthusians. I think it's part of their Luciferian, mass murder thing. But that's a speculation. That's the kind of stuff that'll get me kicked off YouTube, right? But no, I do. I think that's what these wars are about. I think that's what abortion's about. Because they don't regard human life as sacred or special. And this is also why I go on about Christianity and the peaceful nature that Christianity is supposed to be, unlike what it became. And however, one of you Christians who thinks that it's okay to fight and go to war and whatever else are absolutely wrong. And Christ is going to have a word with you one day. Just saying. And mind you, that's a hard teaching for me. Very hard teaching. I really don't like to fight or hurt people, but man, I also don't like to be bullied and don't like to be hit. It's a good way to really piss me off is to punch me in the face. It's usually not a good time for the other guy. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I got to get to work. Appreciate you all for watching. This has been All Minus One. My name is Bill, and I wish you all well.